Buwaya Lancers are crocodile guardsmen, often considered a threat upon the entirety of the Sword Isles. Born from the need to travel quickly across both water and land, an ancient warrior tamed one of the first Buwaya. It has since become the name for Buwaya that are bred to become mounts, tall, long-legged crocodiles that are fast and have a huge amount of stamina. Buwaya Lancers arose during the end of the 7th Moon Era, to escape capture from powerful Pudwan cataphracts, which rode upon great 6-legged steeds. The great Laksamanituhan Langka Singh Bankis and his reduced war band of a measly 12 managed to escape by speaking to a Buwaya and the Buwaya accepting his oath, remembering that ancient warrior that tamed the first Buwaya. Thus, 12 Buwaya managed to ride down the river and boarded their bire to escape to the distant land of Sonio. There they honed their ability in Buwaya taming, creating saddles and tasseled bardings, made of gold and mother of pearl and bamboo and more. Rajanate Buwaya are painted in the same manner the warriors were, although not tattooed. In this way their bond becomes tighter, stronger. Buwaya Lancers break the enemy's front line. In the Sword Isles archipelago warfare, this would not be the end of an enemy's formation, as war was waged not through formations but through force of will. A Buwaya Lancer breaking ranks will break spirits. It is like seeing a great warrior riding upon the back of the gods. The Buwaya Lancers have since become one of the most well-known disciplines across the Sword Isles. It has become a stable cavalry, one used extensively by Rajanate polities that could afford it, and the Akai Sultanate to combat the cavalry of the other polities. Buwaya Lancers are usually trained to use spears, bangka, or tridents, salapang, but other kinds of weapons are just as viable. Therefore, Buwaya Lancers are much wanted in Kadunganan parties, as they are made to crush the front line and stay there, using crocodile and military armament to crush the opposition. Even in land, the crocodile beast can gallop, quick and unstoppable. The crocodile is one of the most well-respected beasts. They are very often considered to be avatars of the ancestors themselves, and are treated like grandfathers, that is, with utmost care and respect. They are the great masters of both sea and land, protectors of the places where water and earth meet. If you become a Buwaya Lancer, ask yourself why you ride upon the greatest of spirits only to bring violence. You are one with a beast known both for death and for the ancestors. You say you protect, so why do you let your Buwaya rip that man's head off? Why do you stab while atop your enslaved holy power? Why do you think you are as great as the gods themselves? Hello viewers and welcome to the totally first episode of Trashtalk on Gubat Banwa, where I talk about the various disciplines you can play as within. And in today's episode, let's talk about the Buwaya Lancer. So what's going on? Well, 1.4 is out, more things have been changed, again, so much so that a short post-video update is not going to be enough, so let's start over, again. I will also be explaining bits and pieces of combat mechanic in Gubat Banwa when they becomes relevant. This just feels smoother to me, and to think that I was going to make a tutorial video on Gubat Banwa 1.3 just a month ago and only cancelled that out of pain, that was definitely a disaster avoided. Buwaya Lancer is a sentinel. A sentinel is a defensive class about protecting your allies and making the enemies find the fuck out, and we can already see this with Buwaya Lancer's discipline trait. It has 11 hit pearls, 4 speed, 1 jump, and +1 to your posture and resilience. These are called prowess, basically your combat stat. Hit pearls are health point, speed is how much you move, jump is the maximum elevation you can go up and down to in a riv, the new turn equivalent. We will get to that later. This also means that there's no longer an extra speed cost to moving up and down. Meanwhile, bravery and faith are used for physical and magic attack, and posture and resilience are of course, for defense. 11 hit pearls in 1.4 is actually quite high, and adding in the +1 stat to posture and resilience make the Crocodile Knight very tough. That's not all either. As a Buwaya Lancer, you also have Lair, a burst 1 aura around your Lancer that pulls any enemy that ends their riv adjacent to your aura. Any enemies that try to leave must spend +1 speed, and you may inflict violence on them once per riv. Inflict violence is essentially your basic attack, well, as basic as it could be because every discipline has its own unique set, but to put it shortly, Buwaya Lancer's trait perfectly simulates what happens when people get too close to a crocodile. Things don't end well for them. This also means that the Lancer is constantly controlling a 5x5 death zone, which is insanely huge on combat maps that are usually 12x12 size, and yes, all disciplines only have one definitive trait now, which should be easy to remember and at the same time don't make them any less powerful. This also gets even better with the Lancer's inflict violences. First, harpoon, attack a fighter within 2 tiles with bravery, dousing them and pulling them in by 1 space. This still counts as melee attack. This inflict violence demonstrated a couple things new in 1.4. Douse is part of the new elemental interaction system. There's no longer things like water, fire, or metal attack that really only become relevant when the target is resistant or vulnerable to them. The element actually has an immediate effect now, like Douse actually put out fire to rain and anyone on fire and make sure they can't be set on fire again, but you are now extra vulnerable to attack that shocks and chills, causing more damage. Also, water conducts electricity. The status effect also gets cleansed in different ways. Douses for instance only end when the target gets shocked or sets aflame, which, as I mentioned before, you don't actually get set on fire, the two effects just cancel out each other. In short, 1.4 just further turned Gubat Banwa into Bioshock. As for the melee attack thing, any attack that have 2+ range counts as ranged attack, any shorter is melee, and anything with area pattern is an area attack. This is important because only melee attack gets bonus attack when flanking enemies, and ranged attack gets worse when enemies get too close, and area attack gets nothing. But to put it shortly, Harpoon lets you pull in an enemy even when they don't want to get close to you. Remember, your Lair only pulls enemies in if they decide to end their turn near you, so be proactive and bring them inches away from death and crocodile. Second, Barreling Dragon, you move half your speed and then taunt all adjacent enemies until the end of your next riv. Taunt essentially causes enemies to do less damage if they attack anyone that isn't you, a very useful move for Sentinel so enemies are more keen on attacking you, playing right into your hand, or jaws in this case. Also, let's talk about the round and turn a bit. In Gubat Banwa 1.4, round is called resound, and turn is called riv. This is a play on words as war drums and gongs are often used in ancient Southeast Asia warfare. The turn order is even called the rhythm and actions are called beats and those are unchanged since 1.0, so honestly the renaming is just making the terms fitting with the theme more. Third, Snapping Dragon, attack an adjacent fighter with bravery, then slide them to any other adjacent square. This is just an attack that can move an enemy however you like, maybe move them next to your allies to stab them even more. When you first start in Gubat Banwa in 1.4, these are all you get, and already they make you quite powerful over your foes, but as you grow in Legend, the level equivalent, you will get signature techniques to enhance and modify your Kadunganon as the situation sees fit. However, you cannot just unlock any technique you want, as you have to unlock technique in a discipline in sequence to get the next one. Keep that in mind. First, Dragon seizes the sky, spend 1 beat to rush, which is just moving up to your speed, while bringing 2 adjacent fighters with you, keeping adjacency. This movement is considered forced movement until the targets are willing. Basically, this is a grappling move in a TTRPG without grapple move, perfect to pull some enemies elsewhere to destroy them or bring your allies elsewhere quickly. Each technique also has tiered applications, each more powerful than the last as the effect stacks up, and also costs more beats, starting with Crocodile Jaws, which inflict 1 true hit when you seizes an enemy, and specifically enemy so holding your allies like this won't hurt them. This is rather important for Dragon seizes the moon as you can then slam whoever you are holding down, attacking all enemies within burst 1 of the target with bravery. You can choose to specifically exclude the target from harm, meaning you can totally carry an ally of yours and turn them into a human hammer completely unharmed so they can continue the rampage after your riv is finished, just to keep the combo going. Second, Dragon Tail style, spend 1 beat to attack all enemies in Blast 3 with bravery with either your crocodile tail or a giant weapon. To clarify on the area pattern, Burst is your basic explosive radius area attack, while Blast here is a big square attached to you in any direction, like a wide shotgun blast, totally not confusing to Lancer or D&D4E veteran. All adjacent targets are also slowed, meaning their speed is halved until they can get rid of it by rushing twice. In short, this is a technique perfect to deal with groups of enemies that got way too close, and it will keep them there until they are not a problem anymore. You can also upgrade it to Immense Crocodile technique to taunt all targets until end of your next riv too, making sure that you are their target and not your allies, and Dragon Blade Cut Swathe, to rush 3 just before the attack, causing 1 adjacent target to be stunned, reducing their beat by 1 for 1 riv. Considering you have spent all your beats on this technique, being able to move just before unleashing it can be very useful. Third, Deathly Roll. Yup, that's a word. Spend 1 beat to rip and tear an adjacent fighter on the same elevation as you with bravery +2, this attack also has overwhelming, which on attack, now lets you roll more dice on a 10, and if the target is slowed or stunned, all attack teeth hits on 4+ instead of 6+. This is essentially a very limited but extremely powerful attack that has a very real chance to one-shot a target, and to those that have been through 1.3, part of the goal of 1.4 is essentially lowering down the damage and health number for a more coherent gameplay. which is why Overwhelming went from doubling damage to this and the Lancer went from 20 to 11 health. In other words, less is more is part of the update goal. You can also upgrade Deathly Roll to Maws of Hell to have 3 targets in Blast 3 pattern, effectively tripling your already ridiculous damage, and Divine Consumption to also heal 1 per hit inflicted after parries, or cancelling. In short, Deathly Roll is truly, Deathly Roll in every sense of the word, but it's also hard to use due to its short range, so you really need to position yourself well prior to using it for maximum power. Fourth and last, yes, there's only 4 signature techniques now. Dragon Lair Pamaji, spend 1 beat to bring all tiles in burst 1 down by -2 elevation, that's it, that's the technique. Due to how jump prowess works, you can essentially trap some NPC as well as preventing other from jumping down the hole to help their friends, allowing you to isolate and brutally destroy your target at your leisure. This is also where Harpoon is very useful, because double dousing people causes them to be chilled, which makes every terrain difficult terrain to them, and also, oh what's this, it reduces their jump to 1, that's very awful, how very unfortunate even. Only one problem, you have jump 1 too, so unless you have techniques from another discipline that lets you fly, you will be trapped in your own pit if you slam down an entire flat ground, unless of course, that is your goal. This technique can also be upgraded to Leaping Makara to let you fly 2 before slamming down, which should let you move out of the pit you have made yourself, somewhat, and open the Caves of Sulit to also increase the burst radius to 2, in case the hole wasn't big enough. In a nutshell, this technique creates a trap, the trap is you, and your allies should try throwing more victims down the pit to feed your bloodlust. Also, as you unlock signature techniques in a discipline, you can also unlock Enlightenment with 2 techniques learned and Liberation with 4. Enlightenment usually comes in the form of a powerful passive, kinda like an extra trait, and from the Buwaya Lancer, there's God's Revel in Rivers, which makes you immune to water terrain, which just slows people down, and also makes you unable to be chilled, which is funny because Crocodile is cold-blooded. When you suffer an attack that douses, you may rush 1, and whenever you end your riv, roll your bravery, for every 5+, pull a fighter within burst 5, which would be 11 by 11, by 1 tile. Everything about this is very useful to Buwaya Lancer, but it's also very useful to any raider or sentinel discipline that likes to get up close and personal. Being chilled is just painful to those that likes to move, and having people just being pulled in no matter what is very useful too. And finally, the Buwaya Lancer's Liberation, Makara aspect, on Resound 3+, spend 1 beat to turn into the legendary Makara, increase your size to 2, which is 2 in every direction including height, meaning you can clear higher elevation more easily due to you being just plain higher by 1 now. You also ignore all terrain effects, heal 1 when you start your riv, and gain another +1 to your posture and resilience. In short, you basically turn into a kaiju with all that implied, make of that what you will. Anyone who read the 1.3 version before probably noticed that the description got a lot shorter, but also, who can actually remember all of this? And that's basically it on the Buwaya Lancer, a crocodile riding sentinel that uses the power of crocodile to break apart enemy formation with ease. Anyway, you can expect another trash talk on Gubat Banwa to arrive very soon, as I want to fix the 2 episodes I have released as quickly as possible before continuing with my usual schedule, which of course, includes more trash talk on Gubat Banwa. That's all for now, and I will see you all next time. Hello there, if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and click that notification bell button. If you really want to support my channel, you could visit my Patreon page, or buy me some coffee, links in the description. Anyway, have a nice day.